Hello friends, in the previous lecture we have seen how to handle IOs, the basic functions, that is input and output. We have seen the configuration, we have seen inputting, we have seen outputting, right? So for configuration we have used data direction register and control register 1. For input and output, you can recollect, for output we have used the ODR register, and for the input we have used IDR register, and we have controlled inputs, controlled outputs, and configured and all. There is one more register related to IO which we have not yet discussed. It is the control register 2. We have used control register 1, but we can use control register 2 and add some more functionality if required. So now we will see what is a control register 2. What does it do for us? If you look at the circuit diagram, we are seeing that on pin number 20, where it is PD3, there is a switch, and by pressing or releasing the switch, the logic level on pin 20 changes. We want to take a decision based on whether the key is pressed or not. So what we do, we keep looking at this pin over and over again in some kind of an infinite loop. Let us see, look at the program. What we had done in the program is, after giving one flashing, we go here and look for PD IDR, and bit is 3, 0, 1, 2 and 3, PD3. So we look at this. If it is pressed, what should I do? If it is not pressed, what should I do? And I go on doing it, and it is just once in a while that somebody is going to press that particular key. So, but you have to keep looking at it continuously. This is wasteful of time. If there is no other option, then fine, we have to bear with it. But this particular microcontroller, like most others, has given an option. What is that option? If a key is pressed, it will generate an interrupt. Now, what is this process called? This process is called polling. Polling is P-O-L-L-I-N-G. We keep polling this register, PD3. That's what we keep doing. But if I have an availability of a interrupt, it will be wonderful, because if anybody presses the key, then only the interrupt will occur, and when the interrupt occurs, then only I will take a call what to do when the switch is closed, what to do when the switch is open. So I'll save a lot of time. In the available time, I can do something much better. I can even add some feature because more time is available for processing. So it makes my work more efficient. So instead of polling, if I have an ability to generate an interrupt when the key is pressed, then nothing like it. It will save immense amount of time. So friends, let us see, how do I get it? It comes from control register 2. Like control register 1 or like DDR, all these registers are associated with every port. Here we are talking only about PD, but it is available for PA, PB, PC, PD, all. So here in a generalized form, we have written it X. PX, this X could be A, B, C, D, etc. So we are talking about now PD CR2 for PD3. PD3 is this bit. If I set this bit, see 0, 1, 2 and 3 is PD3. If I set this bit in CR2 register, then whenever logic level changes in a particular way on PD3, an interrupt will be generated. By default, it will not be generated, in the sense that by default this level is 0. So under program control, you have to make it 1, otherwise interrupt will not be generated. So by default, if it is 0, and if I never want an interrupt, then I will never even touch this register and do this, right? So to get an interrupt, I have to handle register CR2 associated with the appropriate port. In this case, it is port D, and set that bit of the appropriate pin. Here it is PD3. So if PD3 is set to 1, then I will get an interrupt whenever the logic level at PD3 changes in a appropriate way, in a specified way. So this is one aspect of CR2. There is another beautiful aspect of CR2. It relates to the output pin. If you configure a pin as an output pin, like we have done in PD4, where it controls an LED, it may control any other thing. So there is an option. If a bit of CR2 corresponding to PD4 is set, then what will happen? Then the speed with which data can change on PD4 can be as high as 10 megahertz. It should be capital M, 10 megahertz. I got. So, and if it is 0, then what? If this bit is 0, then this will be only 2 megahertz. The speed with which data can change, it will be 2 megahertz if this bit is 0, and it will be 10 megahertz if this bit is 1. You may ask why if you can give 10 megahertz, then why do you want to give 2 megahertz? It's simple, logical question, I agree. So why do I offer an option of 2 megahertz, and that too under default conditions? The internal circuitry of the microcontroller corresponding to the ports is such that if you provide only 2 megahertz maximum speed, then it will consume much less power. And if you want a higher frequency, then you can set this bit, get higher frequency, but at a cost. And that cost is the power consumed by that particular pin. That will be much more. For this reason, if you are not really very much interested in going for a high-speed signal on a pin, then you need not go for 10 megahertz. You should go for 2 megahertz, by which expedient you are going to save energy. That is the reason. To save energy, clear this bit, that is, make it 0. And if your application demands a higher frequency operation, then you set it to 1, and you pay for it in the sense that you will consume more power. So that is the role of register CR2. On the input side, it offers interrupt. On the output side, it offers higher speed of operation. So friends, let us So you have been able to read this port pin PD3 using an AND operation with a mask that carries a bit 1 at this location at PD3. That is the way you have learned to read an input port. For the output port, what you did? If you wanted to turn this off, that is, if you wanted to send a logic 0 here, what you did was you used a mask, and that mask contained a logic 0 at the location of PD4. For example, if PD4 means bit 4, so this bit 4 here would be made 0 and all other bits would be made 1, and then you would perform an OR AND operation to bring this logic level to 0. And if you wanted this LED to glow, you wanted a logic 1 here. To do that, what you did? At the same location bit 4, you use a mask which contains a 1 at bit 4 and all other bits are 0, and then you perform an OR operation so that this becomes 1. This you have done already, I was just trying to recapitulate. Friends, let us go back to our course outline. When you come to the course outline, you find that we have come to step 3 and we have performed the IO ports activity, right? So now we are in a position to go to point number 2 in step number 3, which is serial ports. Yeah. Look at the serial port connection between our microcontroller and the module, the MP3 module. Here you have on pin number 2, it is port 5, PD5. It transmits, and this transmitted information is received by the module at pin number 2, and the functional pin is RX. Here the microcontroller is sending from pin number 3, so it is receiving on pin number 3 data which has been sent by the module through its pin number 3 to the transmit function, and this is the receive function. So transmit is connected to receive. Here also transmit is connected to receive. Done. So let us take a closer look at this process of data communication. Friends, you see at the bottom here, there are so many different types of serial communication processes that are supported by the microcontroller that we have chosen, STM8S003. It supports SPI, Serial Peripheral Interface, IIC, which is Inter-IC Communication, UART, Universal Asynchronous Receive Transmit, USART, Synchronous Asynchronous, LIN. This is a small network which is inside the device. Then IRDA, CAN. They are all the various communication facilities, serial communication facilities available on this microcontroller. You have to select and then configure the selected communication process. In our case, it is the UART. Why? Because the device I'm using, this device which I'm using, it only accepts UART connection. Therefore, I enable and I configure the UART of my microcontroller. That is the reason why I need a UART for my work. Do you know what all this looks like? You are trying to send data using only one pin, and you are trying to receive data using only one pin. Normally the data transfer, as you have seen in your all courses, is 8 bits, 16 bits like this. But here you are saving the pin count by using just a single pin for sending data and just another single pin for receiving data. And what that data looks like, you have to define everything in communication first, and then only you can use it. So you have to define the speed of communication first. So in our case, because the MP3 module works only on 9600 baud rate, the number of bits per second can be 9000, have to be 9600 bits per second, right? And this is the requirement of the MP3 module, and therefore I must configure my microcontroller to support 9600 bits per second speed of data transmission. This time period, see, you can see normally when you are sending data, the line is at logic 1. The moment you start sending, the bit becomes 0. So before you start sending, the line is idling, and when it is idling, it has to be at logic 1. So this is at logic 1 while it is idling, and as soon as it wants to start sending something, the first thing it does is it comes to logic 0, and after that it will send the data. it sends the least significant bit first and the most significant bit at the end. This is how it transmits its data. After sending this seventh bit, that is the most significant bit, it has to send a bit called parity bit. And you have to define whether you are going to send even parity or odd parity. So after defining that only, you have to send the parity bit. And you don't do anything about it. Our processor is able to decide what value this parity bit should have. In this case, you can see you have defined or configured it in this way. One start bit, you can see this one start bit, 8 data bits from bit 0 to bit 7. There are 8 data bits, and this is just an example. Then there is even parity and one stop bit. So even parity and then one stop bit. Afterwards, it will idle until the controller or the device want to send data, right? So it will keep idling. So it will be this kind of level 1. So stop bit has to be level 1 and it continues to idle at that level. Now, this is the way the data will move. Since I said that it is 9600 or 9600 bits per second, how do you ensure that it is 9600 only? The clock of my microcontroller is 16 megahertz. It could be something different in a different microcontroller, but in my case it is 16 megahertz. And I want to generate a clock for this operation, which is 9600 bits per second speed. So from 16 million, I have to go to 9600 bits per second. How do I do it? Let's see how to do it. You have seen clock frequency. Now come to this place. Clock frequency. It is 16 megahertz. There are 6 zeros after 16, and the baud rate is 9600. So, by what number should I desire? With what number should I divide the clock frequency so that I get 9600? So to get that figure, I divide 16 megahertz by 9600 hertz, and the result is 1667. So if I divide the frequency by this number, then I get a baud rate of 9600, and for that appropriate registers have to be used. The registers are known as BRR1 and BRR2. These page numbers refer to STM8S user manual number RM0016. You can refer to it. I already asked you to download it, so you have this with you. So friends, you have to set the baud rate. So BR means baud rate and this R means register. Baud rate register 1 and baud rate register 2. So what does this do? This is a 16-bit number. This is 8-bit and this is 8-bit. With the help of the 16-bit number, you divide it. The system divides the system clock, and then the baud rate is available. That kind of clock at this speed is available. So you need these two registers. Now see how this register is organized. Then you will get a better picture of how it is working. We have seen that there are two registers for baud rate, that is UART underscore BRR1 and UART underscore BRR2. The baud rate registers are common to both the transmitter and the receiver. The baud rate is programmed using two registers, BRR1 and BRR2. So what do? You can see what is written here. UART, this is the number with which you have to divide. And what these 8 bits contain? These 8 bits contain the bits from 4 to 11. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. These are the 4 bits. These are the 8 bits that are provided by BRR1. What about the bits from 0 to 3 and then from 12 to 15? They are contained in register number BRR2, which is on the next page. Let me go there. Here is BRR2, and this one, these 4 bits are bit 0 to 3, and these 4 bits are from 12 to 15, and we have already done 4 to 11 in BRR1. I will not go into why it is done like this, but this is how it is done. So the number that you have generated is 1667. First convert it into hex because you have to write in hexadecimal or binary format. So 1667, which is decimal number, looks like 0683 in the hex. So what do you need in BRR2? You need lower nibble 0 to 3. This is the lowest nibble 0 to 3, and it happens to be 3. Then you need topmost, and the topmost 4 bits are here 0. So BRR2 should contain 0, 3. So BRR2 should contain 0, 3, 0 from this nibble and 3 from this nibble. And what should BRR1 contain? It should contain from bit 4 to bit 11. So this 8 represents the nibble bit 4, 5, 6 and 7, and this 6, this nibble represents 7, 8, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 0 to 3, then 4 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like this. So the 6, 8 goes to BRR1, and this 0 and this 3 go to BRR2. You can see this description on pages 365 and 366. This is page 366, as you can see. Just above this was 365, which gave you the other data. So in this way, you configure the baud rate using USART registers BRR1 and BRR2. Okay. Then you come to the next register, USART1 CR1. What does it do? This is UART, in this case it is written as UART1 CR1, and here you have seen that CR1, and I AND it with 11001111. So when you AND something with 1, that bit does not change. When you AND something with 0, that bit is forced to become 0. It means bit 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bits 4 and 5 I am making 0. Why I should do that? This is bit 4 and this is bit 5. These are the 2 bits which I am making 0, and I am not disturbing any other bits. So whatever is their default value, the other bits will remain on that default value. Why should I do URTD 0? Here you can see. When I do this bit 0, I am enabling the UART. Yeah? If I make it 1, then outputs are disabled. So I want it to be enabled, therefore I make UART CR1 bit as 0. As you can see it here, this is bit 5, it is 0. What about bit 4? Bit 4 is also becoming 0. And what is the role of bit 4? It is M. M is the word length. If it is 0, then 1 start bit, 8 data bits, and stop bits. So this is the way you configure. And you have seen that this is what we did. And this is how we initialize or use this register to configure another aspect of the serial communication feature. Then we have another one, use CR2 for the serial port. What we have done here is we have ORed, we are performing an OR operation, and an OR operation we have made these 3 bits 1, because it is an OR operation. Therefore wherever there is 0, the data will remain unchanged, and wherever there is a 1 in the mask, that location bit will be forced to become 1, because we are using OR operation. So why I am doing this? Let us take a look. Let us go to CR2, this CR2, not complete, this CR2. And what we have done is bit 0, 1, bit 2 and 3 are 1, bit 2 and 3 are 1, and what else? Bit 2, 3, 4, bit 5 is also 1, others are unaffected. Bit 5, what is bit 5? Receiver interrupt enable. If I set it to 0, the interrupt is inhibited or disabled. But if I set it at 1, which I am doing in this case, see, I am making it 1. Therefore, the interrupt is generated when certain bits in the status register become 1, then interrupt is generated. Okay, we will see what these bits are. What about these 2 bits? Let us go to the next page and see why we have made 0, 1, bit 2 and bit 3. Bit 0, bit 1, bit 2 and bit 3. Bit 2 and 3 we have made 1. Why? Let us check. This is bit 2 and this is bit 3. I have made it 1. When I make bit 2 as 1, then receiver is enabled and begins searching for a start bit. So it is idling and it is looking for, let some start bit come, let it become 0, let it become 0, and when it becomes 0, it knows that this is the start bit. So we enable the receiver by setting this bit 1. What about this? We enable the transmitter so that this bit enables the transmitter. It is set and cleared by software. Yeah. So this is how we are configuring all these bits. But you have to remember, this is a system controlled by a clock. You want a fixed clock, so you have to configure it. So clock has also to be configured. Friends, today I will stop here and we'll take up this issue of clock in the next lecture. So in the meantime, you download, if you have not downloaded all the data, all the files I have told you, all the documents that I have told you. If you have not done it, do it. And if you have any difficulty, you can contact me. And the other option is you can run these lectures over and over again, right? So until our next meeting, thank you. Keep studying and enjoy studying. Thank you.